And so I'm really happy to be able to interview you. We did have a public interview on the socials and on the podcast a while ago, but I feel like this one's going to be better because I know more of the right questions to ask you now.
Yep.
So I want you to talk about, like, take us way back to before that, Kristy has an amazing event happening on Saturday in Cochrane at 2:30
Yes.
at West Valley Cairo. It's going to be an amazing event. She's going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I want all of you to know Kristy and know why she does this work that she does, which you call yourself a herbalist, right?
I do. That's what there's been a lot of title changes, but yeah, I call myself a clinical herbalist.
Right, a clinical herbalist. But you had a lot of very sciencey background things that you did. Do you want to tell us kind of like, graduating from high school, you're from the States, so you have other language for that. And then where your travels and your education took you from there that led you to what you're doing today.
Yeah, the language is the same. I did graduate from high school, so that's the same. And then I went to college, but I guess in Canada, college is different. So if we're speaking Canadian language, I went to university. So I went to West Virginia University and got an undergraduate degree, and then I continued on and got a graduate degree from George Mason University. And the only reason that I'm giving these university names is because that kind of stuff matters in the States. It matters less in Canada. And then I moved to Canada, and I got a clinical diploma because I love school, like 15 years or something ridiculous. And I got a clinical diploma from Wild Rose College. And became a clinical herbalist. So I have lots of letters behind my name, which only means that I'm committed.
Right. And that's what I really want people to know about you is this has been your life's path since day one. But let's go back to your childhood and some of the health things that went on that I think really dialed you into this path where you were like, wait a minute, I think that I need to explore this more. So tell us about some of those things that happened to you and how you, I don't know, move through it.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I don't know that I would have looked sickly. I might have looked kind of chubby, but I threw up all the time. I puked almost every day, probably from the age of like 7 till at least 22. So after a while, I was labeled like having a nervous stomach, and I did have a lot of anxiety that was internalized. And I also had a lot of gut issues. So my parents did allergy testing, and I was allergic to everything. And I had shots. I got allergy shots. It wasn't like, the biggest, most crippling story of being sick where you're not getting out of bed. I overrode a lot of that. But, I didn't feel great. Like it wasn't like I was a carefree child that just felt so good. I puked a lot. And as in early adulthood, and like I was known to my friends as just somebody who threw up. I threw up all the time. And even sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes this still happens to me, and just go and puke, and that would be it. But it's really, really rare now. But that's kind of how I went down that road. And then when I was in college, I think this is where you're getting to. I had a number of mini strokes in graduate school, actually. And then I had realized I need something more. The medical system was wonderful for that crisis, but the neurologist sent me home and just said, manage your stress and don't be on birth control. And me being me, I was like, oh boy, no, we're gonna do something else here. So that was around 24 or 25 when I was 24, 25. Yeah.
So at what point were you introduced to the world of herbs and these amazing plants that heal? And like, how did that even come into was that later when you were in university, or was it a job, or was it
That's
really far back?
That's actually an interesting question because My dad was really into gardening. My grandfather, who had passed before I was born, had a greenhouse, and so it kind of was just plants, and all of that was just kind of embedded. I probably wasn't like an outdoorsy kid, but I mean, it was the 80s. Like, what do you want to do? Play Nintendo and watch TV? Like, but it was always there in some way or shape or form. And then I really loved being in nature. And so when I went into graduate school, my degree was on plant physiology. So I had
Mhm.
that real interesting, like, how do those plants work and what's the physiology around it? And then before that, I had a biology degree, so I understood the body systems. So I ended up working as a wetland ecologist in the States, and then eventually moved to Canada and did that. And one of my colleagues was like, I'm going to go take this herbal class. We already know the plants, all this stuff. And she and I started taking a herbology class, and it was so inspiring because I thought, oh, well, I'm already doing this stuff. I'm already managing my diet and my health in a different way. So why not? And so that's when that started down that road to really bridge those two disciplines.
Right. I think I've heard the term herbology or herbologist. Herbologist? Is that a thing? Did I just make that
Yeah,
up?
no, that's a thing. That's a thing. It really depends on if you're in the States, if you're in Europe, if you're in Canada. So anything goes. Herbalist, herbologist, herbology. Um, it's all, we all speak the same language. It has to do
Mhm.
with herbs.
Right. So, how did it go for you when you were learning about the plants and then you took the herbology course? And I always say the H, even though I'm not supposed to because I can't stop. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But the herbology course. And then at what point did you start trying herbs and finding, things that helped you? And like, at what point did you actually start to use them like medicine and like to cure or treat things, not cure, but like
Yeah,
whatever the word you use.
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's a complementary modality, so it complements alternative medicine and things like that. We just have to be mindful that we're in our same scope, right? So, or our practice. Um, so when I was in the hospital in Northern Virginia, when I had my mini strokes, there was a woman who was in the bed next to me who was also diagnosed, and she was kind of young. She was diagnosed with something neurological, and she was like, "I'm going to send you to my Korean acupuncturist, and I'm going to send you, and you should try this." And she was wild for me at the time because I was so Western medicine and I was so scientific, data, labs and studies, which has served me well. But I started going down that path when I lived in the States, and I started just taking the herbs, the traditional Chinese medicine herbs. I started discovering that and looking into energy healing and massage and chiropractor and all the things that people would have called woo woo and I would have called it woo woo. So that was like in maybe like 2004 I started to really use herbs for myself. And then, as I got more education, because I was really of that mindset that the more education you had, the more qualified you were. Even though I was doing it and living it, I just didn't have the confidence. So that's how it started. So probably like 2004 and on. But as you touched on with my health issues as a kid, I was always real careful about what I ate because I had found this connection, like what I ate caused me to have migraines, and I just didn't do that. So I had always been careful. So herbs wasn't that big of a stretch. I just it was whatever I was putting into my body. And then I just got more and more refined with my body. And then I realized I could help other people. So that's what.
Can you give us a specific example of maybe like a trigger food for migraines and then even like a herb that helps
Oh, for
like
sure.
alleviate migraines? Like, can you give us some real examples from
Yeah,
your
for
life?
sure. For sure. So in Eastern medicine, they say that your gut is the first brain. So a lot of times, well, I would say all the time, if we can be so bold, you gotta deal with your gut. And so people that have migraines, most people that I've come across, including me, have a gut issue. So, for example, I, ever since I was a kid, can't really eat chicken. Um, chicken is a histamine. Sometimes it creates histamines in your body. And most people that have migraines have a histamine issue. So, yeah.
What are histamines?
Oh,
I keep hearing this word. I have no idea what it is.
it's like an allergy. So histamines are just something that are
Oh.
made. You need them. They're made in your body, and then if you make too many of them, things happen and your body starts attacking it, and it's like and then you cause upset and rashes and headaches and migraines. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to know what you can eat. So sometimes things like that you have to pay attention to. And usually people that have migraines know what they can eat and what they can't eat. Red
Mhm.
wine and sometimes red meat and things like that. But what you can always do is find a way that will calm down your own system. And the other thing is herbs are all plants. So when I talk about foods, chicken obviously is an animal product, but
But they survive off of plants,
that's
so
right.
maybe is there a bit of a thing where the chicken that you're eating, if it was raised in a certain environment with certain food, it would be more like, have more histamines than chicken that was maybe pumped full of, like, crappy food and lived in a stressful environment? Okay, we might be going down a rabbit
No,
trail
no,
here.
maybe. I mean, maybe. The truth of the matter is I have healed my gut so much that I can eat stuff now.
Mm,
It's just that you have to make sure that your gut health is good enough. So sometimes, if I'm not feeling well, I'll have ginger or I'll have peppermint, but you have to know for you. Like all this is
mhm,
data and information. But until you have the knowledge and you place that in information and data into a knowledge basket that's yours, it doesn't really matter. So, one of those things that when you're realizing, oh, my guts are off, right? Um,
right.
you just you avoid certain things. Like I
Mm,
have one client that can't eat eggs, but not the egg yolks. She can't eat the egg whites. And so
okay.
there's things like that at this point, we should be aware of as we're aging what's going on, unless we're just so stressed out and everything just feels like a mess, then you have to decouple. Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So for everyone watching, if you can make it to all 3 of Kristy's upcoming events, you're gonna basically get to build on your knowledge, you're gonna get to have more data, as Kristy was saying, to actually build some customized herbal blends with Kristy's help, of course. But if you can't, if you're watching or listening to this at the, like after February 17th, and the last 2 events are the only options you have, cool. Or if you're not into going to events with other people or leaving your house or getting out of your sweatpants, I feel you. Just get in touch with Kristy because this is what she does for a living. She helps you, find the data, find the signals, find the triggers, find the things that work for you, and build a custom plan for you that is really rooted in the herbal world and in all of these amazing plants that we have in the world, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like, we really should try to use the plants that we're around, but we also have
Okay,
to think about our genetics and, like if you move across the world, maybe those
right.
plants don't work for you because genetically you need something else. There remember when bullet coffee was such a big deal? Like,
Yeah,
do you like yeah,
yeah.
and like I would see people and they'd be like, I've gained so much weight and I don't know what's going on. And we just would cut out the coconut oil. And they
I am so into the coconut products these days, and, yeah, but I cut out dairy quite a while ago. I'm not, like, really strict about it, but I cut out dairy a while ago, and I feel like I'm slowly kind of replacing that fat with coconut fat,
yeah.
but, yeah, that stuff was, and people were putting, like, butter in their coffee at for a while too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I was doing it. I'll still do it. I love butter. I'll put it on anything. I'll put it in my coffee. I don't care.
yeah, and it's not a like, sometimes we have to realize that we're really in a modern world. I mean, we can use
Right.
herbs as and I use them all the time, but we're in a modern world. So, if we're
Mhm.
using a lot of coconut oil and a lot of, like, goji berries and, quinoa and all these superfoods, which are great,
Mhm.
we need to actually move our bodies enough to make sure that we're burning those calories. So sometimes people don't realize that they're overdoing it with the oils. Um,
Yeah, and one of the things that is so cool about what you do is when you not necessarily at the well, yeah, at these events, you're gonna send people away with actual, like, herbal products,
Correct,
like a roll-on or a spray, and they're gonna get their custom herbal tea.
correct.
They're obviously gonna get a lot of knowledge at the events too, but when you work with your one-on-one clients who come into, kind of your full meal deal package, we'll call it, you, like, mail boxes of stuff
I
to them,
do.
so no matter where they are in North America, you send them custom products, and you have your own line of all sorts of products that have all these wonderful herbal remedies right into them. Lotions. I have a bunch of your
Yeah.
lotions and they're like incredible. So you have all the things. You also work out of a clinic and you do virtual sessions for people who don't live in the Calgary area. I'm trying to like cram as much information about you as I can into this call. And then I want you to now what I want you to
Yes.
do is tell us how these events, I guess, because there's a series of
Yes.
3, like, when did you start percolating on these? And, like, how did this idea come to you to put is this such a cool idea? I've never heard of, like, this kind of a workshop event that you're doing.
Yeah, well, I kinda do everything a little different. That's just the story of my life. So, in 2018, the last kind of workshop season, I guess, is when I did them. And I did something in southern Alberta, and then I took people into Arizona for a retreat. Um, and then, everything kind of stalled. And also, I was really doing a lot, and it just didn't feel like I wanted to do the workshops anymore. So, over the last few years, people have been really asking about these workshops because it's really an experience. Like, people really leave feeling really excited and full and inspired and healthier. Um, because I have a lot of information, but I do narrow it down. So that's what the workshops are about. So you come in, you have this really great initial experience, whatever it is, based on that workshop day. So on the 17th, we're going to be talking about resetting your patterns so that you can really feel great and have great energy and beat that stress and sleep well. And so
Mhm.
we'll have that interaction at the beginning. We'll identify each person's patterns, and we can do this privately and not if the group is open, where
Mhm.
then it's a more open group, but
Mhm.
nobody has to say anything they don't want to. And then we're gonna do a tea tasting. And
Mhm.
I have all kinds, I don't know if you can see it, but there's just boxes of different herbs. So I want people to really come away with, this is how you make a blend. This is the blend for me. Do I like the taste? Don't I like the taste? And then we're gonna segue into making the teas. Each person gets to make their own tea. Maybe more than one, because I always have extras. And I want people to feel like they have bonuses and extras. They've taken the time to come, and they're going to get a lot. And then we're going to
Right.
do a little bit of essential oil blending because I just think it's so important. And people will
Mhm.
walk away with their blends of oils. So that's in all three of the workshops, but each topic is going to be different depending on the week.
Cool. And so you've got 3 weekends in a row starting February 17th, all 3 of them on the Saturday
Correct.
in a beautiful, beautiful space, which I have seen and experienced many times in Cochrane at West Valley Chiropractic. The lovely Erin and Amanda are hosting you there, which is going to be wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah, the vibe in that space is just it's got a good vibe in there. It's so great.
Mhm.
and the people are going to be awesome. I really want you to actually, can you share what the next two are about? What the second and third workshops are about?
Yeah, the second one is on February 24th, and that's about finding your hormonal zen. So I'm in perimenopause. A lot of my clients are in perimenopause. Some of my clients are postmenopause, and some people are really in the thick of just their cycles. So it's
Mhm.
more going to be towards women. Men do have changes in their hormonal patterns. However, and they're welcome, but we'll probably be talking a lot about you know, menstruation and cycles and things like that, and libido and sex.
Right.
So that
Well, I think it would be so helpful for men to come or for couples to come to that event because I do think that men, I mean, I think most women don't know what's going on with that stuff with the perimenopause.
yeah.
I'm learning so much about it right now because I have you and I have another client that like you're very knowledgeable about it. I'm learning so much from you, but the men just really don't know anything. Like usually it seems like, and so they would come at least, and they would get to do all the things, and they would get to learn how to, be more supportive of their lady through this fun time.
I agree. Like I say bring it on. They need to know the information too. And we'll be making teas that are customized for each person. So you don't have to be a woman, you can be a man and you can make your own tea. Like and a lot of it will be having the right energy and making sure your digestion works. And so what it is that you need to do for you using herbs to basically go through hormonal changes with ease. We're not going to stop aging. It's a gift to age, but we can actually do it with ease and grace. So that's February 24th. And then March 2nd is all about digestive health and making sure that we are beating that bloat back so that, our pants aren't feeling so tight or, we have a smoother, I have so many bad puns that I can do when it comes to digestion. I'm
When it comes to bathroom and digestion things.
You know, I really debated, do I put digestion first because it's so critical? But honestly, everything interacts with each other, and really, what it is that you need to do to make your digestion optimal. So, like I mentioned earlier, like some people need, ginger, um,
Mhm.
but ginger might be the wrong thing, and that's really dependent on whether you have a small intestinal issue or a large intestinal issue, and mint and all these other things. But it's based on what you tell me your symptoms are, and then we go from there.
Right, right.
Like some people can't eat onions because it
Yeah,
causes gas, but you
yeah,
don't know that. Like you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, onions, raw onions.
mhm,
Not
yeah,
ones, things like that, or garlic. Garlic can be upsetting. It just depends on
yeah,
who you are.
mhm. Well, and, it's the day after Valentine's Day, but on the theme of love,
Yes.
we often forget to love ourselves, myself included. And I think for these events to come, as a couple or with your best friend, to love on not only your friend or your spouse, but yourself,
Mhm.
and to just take some time because your gift, well, you have many, but one of your gifts is to really help people go inward and to find the answers that are already there. And I mean, really, herbs are part of what you do. I mean, we haven't talked about the other things that you do and the way that you help people and you have these gifts. We won't get into that in this interview, but do get in touch with Kristy. Her all these events we're talking about are right at the top of her website, almondinewellness.com, and connect with her on Instagram at Almondine Wellness. Make sure to follow her on YouTube, and yeah, again, just reach out to her if you have any questions about any of this. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, Kristy?
No, no, thank you, Lyndsie, for having me. Thanks for this lovely conversation, and I wanna thank, Dr. Talk and the West Valley Chiro Center in Cochrane for hosting us. Really, I think I just wanna reiterate your point, like, the idea of love is wonderful, but if we're not practicing it, um, it really doesn't mean anything. And practicing requires us to pay attention every single day. So if you're
Right.
feeling like, oh, I just don't have time and I just don't know and I feel so stressed out, this is the weekend.
Mm.
This is the Saturday you need to go to, because I promise you, once we're in there, you will feel way more grounded, way more centered, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you are doing these events, and I'm really excited to see the momentum that's building from them. And I'm really excited that I just know you. You've taught me a lot so far, and I'm really pumped to get to learn more from you at these events. So thank you. And I'll let you get back to your Thursday evening now.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a healthy glass of water and then, a nice little, herbal cocktail, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, herbal
I
cocktail.
know.
Like,
That's the thing,
like, is there gin in it?
herbs are making a great comeback in the cocktail space because
Okay, that's a whole other
I
conversation.
know.
That's a whole other workshop.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna end this, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Bye for now.